Alright, so we're going to go through placing the trench and trench FP cells. I'm going to start off with the trench. I'm going to go ahead and say OK here. And for the trench, you've got to have an alignment of the that's profiled at the bottom, right? The bottom of the trench elevation. Alright, and then the prompts are trench alignment, profile bottom. We'll grab that. And then that's the only reference, so we'll reset and then accept that cell. And really the reason that we've got the trench cell, and I mean you could place that as a corridor model. With the kinks, that you may have in a trench, you're just generally not going to get real good modeling, in these areas here. That's the reason we've built a trench civil cell. And it kind of, if we look at this, I'll come in and zoom in, and I'll just rotate this view a little bit. You can kind of see how that looks. It looks pretty good, I think, especially on the interior. You get your modeling, but kind of how we're doing this, we actually have two template drops. We've got one for this left side. So basically, we've got two templates placed for the walls. One for the left, and then a reflection or a mirror image of this for the right side. So we've got a template there, and we also have a template here. And these are placed as linear templates. Now I tinker with the idea of placing with a corridor with these, individual drops left and right side, and it just didn't. The modeling didn't work out through these kink areas quite as good. Now, I think this one is pretty good. The only thing you may want to consider is on the on this side where the when you've got a deflection right like this, the left side, you may not get, right, you're really quite honest, we should be coming to a point right out here. So, I think what you could do is potentially draw this outside edge, really just in this area right here, and add a point control if you want to push this. It looks like it kind of rounds it. You can play with the this property, not that property. I want the that exterior corner sweep angle. You make it get something there. I've kind of fooled with it in this particular scenario, and I never could get it to do exactly like I want there. So I think if you want to clean that area up on the outside there, it's just come in here and manually draw the outside edge. If it's a half a foot over, manually draw that, and then complex that little piece, and then add a point control for that template outside top point to follow that element horizontally, and I think you'd get a nice PI out here. All right, that's if you want to. I hadn't measured, how far we're off here. Like again, it's kind of coordinate, but almost looks like a curve through there. The other side looks really good, right? It does good. So looks like we handled the inside of a kink turn pretty well. The outside not quite as well, but you can clean that up pretty good if you need to. I don't know that I'd worry about it, quite honestly, but all right. And then the other thing that you've got here, so we've got two template drops in. So to control the height, you would just edit the template. I would imagine there is a label here, either there are there. Yeah, so you can add a parametric constraint to those two templates to control height, or just come in here and edit the template if you need to change that height. And then we also have a in addition to the linear templates here, we have a surface template down here that's drawing that sand drainage layer there. You can see that there. So that's pretty much it with that cell. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But the last thing I want to mention with this cell is I'm going to turn off construction class, but if we'll come in and look at the geometry here. So the green lines are being generated from the template. Those are your top inside, top outside. And then there's another element here. I'll have to right click to get to that element, but it's called wall inside bottom left. And you also have a wall inside bottom right. That's how you control the width here. You can see it's set up 3 feet each side of the center line there initially. And that element is what, again, what controls your offset. And then there's a projection of 0% off of this element here for the elevation of that bottom. Alright, so let's go ahead next and we'll place the trench FP cell. So the trench FP. And I actually think it's 4 reference elements for this. I think the alignment first, so let's grab that. Primary alignment. Primary trench inside edge or inside wall edge. Profile bottom. So that's actually going to be that element there. And then it wants the primary trench outside wall edge. Profile top. So that would be that. So that inside green top is never selected as a reference for this cell. We want that. And then we want a data point for the FP centerline location. It says outside the primary trench, offset does not matter. So basically this wants a data point. It'd need to be here or up there. Really, again, offset doesn't matter. This is just where do you want this trench FP. So I'm going to just come in and just data point like right there. And that you can see those directional arrows. The geometry looks good there. So I'm going to reset and then select corridor to be clipped. I'm going to turn construction class back on. Now this can be a little confusing here. In fact, when I was testing this some, I pretty consistently forgot that there's 2 linear templates here, and I kept thinking this was all one corridor here, and it's not the case. So when you choose the corridor to be clipped, right, you wouldn't want to choose this because nothing's going to happen because that's a separate corridor. So you would definitely want to choose the linear template or corridor, really linear template on the side of the trench FP. So I'm going to choose that, reset, and then accept that civil cell here. And then again, I'm going to turn off construction class. It's still processing just a little bit. So I'm going to turn off construction class, and you can kind of see what that cell looks like here. And we'll zoom in and kind of take a look at it over here. and it looks pretty good. You can see kind of what's going on here, and we can fix that gap there, and it's probably one here as well. You just don't see as well, but it looks, I think overall it looks pretty good there. I think I'm gonna go ahead and go to corridor and go to and clean up this area right there, and I'm gonna just define target aliasing. And again, I'm gonna turn construction class on, locate the corridor. It's gonna be that, and I'm gonna come in and grab you gotta know which one to grab, right? So I want to grab this linear template here. That's the one I'm on a target. Add that. Then I'm gonna also add the existing terrain, and then I'll hit apply, and that should clear up this side and that side there. You can see that looks much better. Obviously, we're in a fill. This template has a cut capability. I don't know how great that would look. It's just kind of modeling outside there. I think if we rotated this, it should look pretty good on the bottom. But should they be, some kind of... So I think everything looks pretty good up under there, I think. Yeah, so I don't see like a cut section or anything like that. So I think everything looks pretty good there. Should there be a little issue, you do have the ability to just move this template back just a little bit. Put a tenth or something here, because I think ultimately what you could get at this point is the same elevation, right? So this what I'm saying, this template may want to solve to existing ground instead of hitting this template right there at that point. So you may have to pull this just a little, move it just a tenth or a hundredth this way. But I wouldn't here because everything looks good. You would rotate the view and see something. Same thing over here, right? Scoot this template back here just a little bit. Alright, so next I think I'm going to just rotate these views, and we're going to talk about horizontal edits next. Alright, so as far as horizontal edits, I'm going to turn off construction class just real quickly. So one thing that there's really not a great way to do is to clean up. So if we come in and we turn off these civil cell primary control elements, you can see what this looks like. So there's not a great way to clean up this wall that's going through here. If you wanted to use this for plan graphics, that's probably not ideal. These are placed as linear templates, so you really can't add key stations and use like a template display rule. I mean, there is a template display rule on this template. So in other words, if this point here is, you can actually add a parametric constraint, call wall display, and move this point, like a foot or 10 feet, really doesn't matter. But if you move it, it cuts everything off through that area. So that would be ideally how to, if you wanted to get rid of the wall through this area, I think that would be ideally what you would do. But these are linear templates, and secondary key stations. You can't add key stations to these linear templates. And we couldn't use a corridor to model this because the kink area didn't look great there. So that's kind of the problems you face with. I think ultimately, if you want to get rid of this green through here, potentially like a masking putting like a black element over this with the higher priority wouldn't potentially show that green element through there if you need to do that. I wish I had a little better way to do that, and generally you do. If we place this entire thing as a corridor, what I was talking about, the display rule to cut it off, and then come in and add that would create a couple gaps here, but you come in and add key stations to kind of close those gaps up. That's the normal process, at least for me. But in this particular case, because of these the kink on these trenches that you get, we couldn't use a corridor out here. We had to use two individual linear templates. So this process with the display rule just doesn't work great. So I think a masking, putting a black element over that potentially would be, and there's some videos out there kind of talk about how to do that if you need to do that. Alright, and so on to horizontal edits next. There is a bottom control element right there, and you can see that vertical offset off the top is 5.5. There's an element, let me turn off construction class again. So there's another element. So controlling horizontal, that controls the length. This controls the width there of it. This element right, that's the wall bottom, but I want to choose this element right there, the wall top. And you can see that vertical offset of 5.5 feet off the bottom there. And then there's another element. This is kind of difficult to get here, and I probably should have this a little bit easier, but so if I choose this wall bottom's a part of a complex element here, and if I look, if I go grab it again, this is a little bit difficult to get to, but you got the video to go by now to kind of go by this. If I need to change this, just let me know. But so that we'll rotate the view here. You see this thing is sloping up there, and it's because of that vertical offset there. So in other words, it's basically, I think that I did a slope projection off that bottom out here of 0%, but I raised it 1.083, and so you could change that value there to change that slope or that offset that you're seeing out here. Alright, so the last horizontal edit we're going to talk about, and this video is a little choppy because a lot of those horizontal edits I just showed you, I did it, then I came back and changed the shoulder aspect of this civil cell, and so that's kind of what we'll talk about last, is this shoulder for the trench FP here. So if you'll hover your cursor over here, I'm not exactly sure. I need to back up and see why I'm seeing a FP shoulder offset control 1 interval. Again, I need to back up and see. I'm not sure why that interval's there. But if you'll right click a couple times, there's a shoulder FP shoulder offset control element, and that is how you control the offset of for your shoulder out here. Right, that's your shoulder out here for the FP is a built-to-terrain model, right? And we've got just a surface template that is basically just a flat line, although there is a little depth there if you zoom in real close. It's like a 100th maybe. But that's how that shoulder's being modeled, and that's how you control the horizontal location, is that element right there. Alright, so vertical, the way you control vertical for this shoulder is I right click and there's an element here called slope control, and you can see it's a negative 2%, so we projected 2% off the top of that wall. So that's basically that And then really this element here, which is really just a horizontal edit, those are kind of what controls the vertical here. So I'm going to open up another view and we'll talk about this just a little bit more. So I'm gonna come in and do a open profile model, and not of the control one, right? The FP control. And so here's the profile of that that element there. All right. And so this profile actually starts right here, and then basically what we're doing, we're going up from that point, which this point, so if we look at this element here, I can't remember if I mentioned in this video, but this controls the offset here of the primary shoulder. You're really one of the first edits you probably should make, and I hate it's this late in the video, but one of the first things you should do probably is align this with the template, the width of your primary trench shoulder. And then also notice that -2% slope, you'd want to make that the same slope as what this primary trench slope is. So that's what that, and it's called primary trench shoulder control, that's what that is. But that is that point right there. And then this element here, so if I change this offset, what that's going to do is, so here's 2% off of this. And so this is really just a transition from the 2% off your primary to the 2% off your FP here. And so you can ultimately, I think, flatten this out a little bit. So if we come in and change that offset to -1, watch the profile. That should adjust that profile there. It should flatten that out there. All right, so you can control that transition from this 2% off of there to the 2% off of there, like I just did. And then basically we've got, I'm going to turn on construction class here. That's pretty much it with that. There is another element or two, but you have to have them on construction class here. There's an element up under here called it's called template drop, and it's a construction class. So, but you'd never really edit this. It's just a partial offset of this FP shoulder offset control that carries the linear template, and the actual linear template is really just in conditions. But if you'll zoom in real close, I think there's like 100th here, maybe even 1,000th there. And the only reason I put that there is so, in the civil cell file, if your in condition doesn't solve, if you just have just an in condition, you can't edit the template. So I put just a little 1,000th or 100th or something like that there. But here's your template for the modeling outside the shoulder there. All right, and that's pretty much it for the cell there.